News First, Newsline with Faraz, Shauketaly.
And a splendid morning to you. This is Newsline Live. We're broadcasting from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And just ahead of Christmas, we thought we should talk about something relevant. And what better than to talk about Christmas and what Christmas means and the whole ambience of Christmas and so on, and what is the wider picture. Indeed, 8 months later, after the events of Easter Sunday, let's find out from a representative of the church who's here with us this morning as to how goes forgiveness, how goes reconciliation, how goes understanding, and how goes the faith. Very good morning to you, Reverend Father Kennedy Pereira.
Morning.
Good morning. And you are, of course, the rector principal of St. Thomas's College in Katunayaka.
Yeah.
We're deeply grateful for your presence here. A very good morning to you.
Good morning.
And that is really the question. 8 months after the events of Easter,
Yeah.
how goes forgiveness? How goes understanding? And how goes faith? I think that last bit is the most important.
Faith, of course, been not challenged very much with the persecution or kind of a bad experience for the Christians ever in the history. History, actually, if you study, you know, it's a faith is always been strengthened with the kind of persecution or harassment. So throughout the history is that from the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, his disciples were also being tortured and sometimes martyred, and the followers as well throughout the history up to today. So for us, this bad experience does not mean the end of the world. It is part of our faith and religion as well. If you study in deep, there are so many saints in the Catholic Church, starting from number one, Jesus Christ, is all our martyrs.
So these 255 people who perished?
Of course, they are considered martyrs, but for the Catholics, you know, martyrs are so many. So
martyrs are not chosen. They become martyrs.
What do you mean?
Like they don't choose themselves to be martyrs.
You can never say that, because once they choose to go become a Catholic is to follow Jesus. Jesus says, if you want to follow me, take up my cross and follow me. There is no shortcut for salvation in the Christianity.
Yeah.
It's the way of the cross, die on the cross, and it is very clear in the Gospels that you will choose the narrow gate.
And choosing this narrow gate is on the one hand.
Yeah.
On the other hand, how do you say to the people who were directly affected by this? You know, you imagine the scenario. On one of the most important days in the Catholic calendar, people turn up to church and they're dressed in their best, and in the case of the first bomb, they were actually in between the Mass. So in short, they were in conversation with, they were in connection with God. And all of a sudden, the worst happens. How do you explain to the survivors, their families, their friends, that surely this happened when they were in direct contact, they were in conversation with God?
Of course, at the very moment with the situation and the status quo there, the momentum very difficult. But nobody fell out, nobody turned away from the Catholic Church because of this incident. At the very moment, everybody is emotional. But later on, I'm in touch with them, in the families. In my school, there are 5 children affected, and some are undergoing stress, still the medication, the parents, and now it is quite acceptable after the incident.
You mean they've accepted the inevitable?
Yeah, inevitable is part of life and part of faith.
Have you found that any of those, I think, around the Katuapitiya church, around 71, 77 houses suffered a death or something in any of those houses. Have you found that any of these families, they are left, the remaining people in those families, has anyone sort of fallen out?
Nobody denies. Nobody denies the faith, not to my knowledge.
They're all there?
I am very much in good touch with, they are all there.
And how do you, as a priest, how do you keep that faith up in those people?
One thing, sir, looking at angle from outside as a observer, it's difficult to explain. But if you are in the faith, in the culture, in the experience, it's not very difficult. Because Christians, the biggest feast is, of course, for the Catholics or the Christians, is not the Natale, the Christmas.
It's Easter.
It is the Easter.
Yeah.
It is the death or crucifixion experience of Jesus.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So therefore, the Christianity itself starts, the Gospels, the writing, the narratives, infancy narratives, the birth of Jesus, all backward development of the death of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
From the death and resurrection, they started the event and the Christianity as such, not from the birth of Jesus.
But all this, so you say that your flock, your parish, has not moved away. But are they still fearful?
It's a human element is there in anybody's heart, you cannot avoid the human element.
So the fear is
human beings are with the experience, bad experience, but I don't think they are going to the church, back to church, they are going to the same church.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and does it give you confidence when you see the army guarding the church?
That is another question, the kind of confidence and competence we have in the government or the such security forces is a different matter. You cannot compare with our faith, know.
What about the non-Catholic churches? There was that church, I think, in
Batiklo.
In Batiklo, the Zan church there. Has the Catholic Church reached out to them as well?
Yes, of course, so many times. For example, our own Cardinal Malcolm Ranjit visited them and the other representatives visited them, and we are very much in relationship with regard to this. But they have their own operation under a different leadership. So our involvement with them is that of faith than of administration.
Mm-hmm. And do you think it's the same even in the non-Catholic churches, that the people have continued to maintain the faith?
Of course. Because we share the same faith,
We followed the story of one particular family, Dr. Sanjana Fernando and his wife, and his mum too, I think. One of the grannies also perished, and the three children, the leftover, the survivors. And one of them worked abroad. Was studying abroad. And this girl had to come home to see both her parents in coffins in the front room. That would have been a mega huge impact. How are you coping with them, the three children, without any? They've got one grandparent left.
It is the same situation so many people experienced. For example, in my college, there were two families where the father, mother with the two children attended the mass in the same church where they got married. And the wife says she during the mass remembered how she got married with this husband, now with 2 kids. At the same time, she has seen how the head of the husband was flying away, with the bomb. And another incident, 3 children, 3 girls, actually very good friend of a friend of mine. He dropped the children and the wife to the church for the mass, and he came to collect them. He collected only the dead body, the smashed body of the wife, and children bloodshed with the. So therefore, the experience in such situations all to do with emotions, not very much rational. But aftermath, really you have to count after some time, because with emotions we cannot judge. It must be reasonable and rational. Human beings are, twofold character of the human beings. So therefore, to accept the situation or not, you cannot judge with the momentum.
It's a difficult time.
Yeah.
It's a difficult time.
I know.
But I want to ask you, whilst we remember all those martyrs who lost their lives,
Yeah.
and who were maimed and with sometimes with life-challenging injuries and so on, whilst we remember them and they shall never be forgotten, I thought I'll also ask you something a bit more current. What is Christmas? Is it the lights?
Of course.
Is it the shopping? Is it Santa Claus?
Yeah.
Is it the ambience? What is Christmas?
All that is Christmas.
Okay.
Today people are actually, they trying to undermine this commercial aspect of Christmas, but I don't. Unless it goes to the extreme,
Yeah.
without the external signs and celebrations, there is no internal joy. There is a good rapport between these two. Human beings are not only divine, or not only they are would say the spiritual beings. They are human beings. So human cultures have some relationship with their internal festivity too, internal meaning. So if you take a wedding,
Yeah.
people can get married outside the church, just go to the kacheri and get married.
Yeah.
And will that end the show? No. That has so many other elements where to take it as a complete reality, there must be other external elements. So the commercial world is one of that. Therefore, you cannot eliminate them and condemn the commercial or the other activities, the celebrations part of it. That's a part and parcel of the event.
And do you think that the people will be celebrating this Christmas with the same enthusiasm that they did, say, last year? What is the general feeling about these celebrations amongst the various church congregations?
Of course, with this just 8 months gone, people are also emotional that families have lost. With that experience, it's very difficult to be happy and forget everything and to celebrate. But celebration in the sense of the Catholic Church is also, now the celebration of the Mass, if you take, it's the sacrifice of Jesus. It's his own life sacrifice.
Yeah.
We call it, we celebrate it. So celebration for them, for us, this time may not be the same as before, but maybe rather meaningful than before. And the birth of Jesus is about the whole hope of the humanity. Some hopes. It is called the hope for salvation. So therefore, in that aspect, if you really are a follower of Christ and if you are really know your religion, it's not that difficult, but it won't be the same feeling, the same mode of celebration.
And on ground reality, what has the Catholic Church done about these incidents? How have they responded? What measures have been taken towards reconciliation and bridging, healing,
Yeah.
and hope?
Yeah, starting from the top order, actually the Archbishop Cardinal himself started that in a beautiful way. For example, he knows all these families very closely and in touch and very personally. Therefore, the priests and the nuns and the Catholic community itself is very much in touch with these people. So therefore, first of all, with the reconciliation on the part of our own people.
Yeah.
Then on the other side, there is also, you would say, not opposite party, but kind of the vice versa, where we consider the enemies or whoever did it. So on that side, it's not clear who is responsible for this. Still not clear.
Do you have faith that this government will be able to have a fit and proper inquiry and one that is that will address the real issues and devoid of any sweeping under the carpet and so on? Do you have faith? What's your faith on that line?
Of course, for me personally, is this whole incident is very ambiguous, very unlikely of a well-organized incident, event. But kind of sometimes it can be planned. It would have been planned. Sometimes it would have an emergence, kind of ad hoc situation also, for me, that's personally. But looking at the whole response of the two governments, I may have little confidence in this government.
You have more confidence in this government?
I think so.
You're disappointed in the previous government?
Kind of response and the reaction they had was not acceptable. Actually, at the very beginning, I didn't have much reaction towards those who did that, but those who prevention is better than cure, you know. They would have, I felt, would have prevented it very well, would have avoided it.
What do you say to your flock, to your congregation? Have you told them to carry on, to increase their faith, to have faith, and to move on, or have you been telling them whether it's important for them to get on with each other, even if the other side are not from the same faith?
No, it is very clear that even our chief shepherd, Cardinal himself told, don't have a now kind of grudge or hatred. We are by nature Christians, are forgiving people, forgetting people, in the sense Jesus being on the cross said, those who killed him, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. So we have to first of all to keep to our teaching and dogma. From there, those who have embraced that dogma act differently. So we don't keep that grudge, and if you take the Catholics in Sri Lanka, very harmless people.
What about the Catholics immediately in, let's say, in Katua Pitia and in the surrounding areas where those victims would have had their friends and family? Are they boycotting the other shops?
No, not now. At the moment, they would have thought that they were the people, but later they realized, if you go now, I have been visiting Negombo, the crowd is around 200,000 people around from Puttlam here, all are flocking in Negombo shops, major non-Catholics.
And is it... Do you feel that, how far, let me put it this way, how far do you think Sri Lanka is from being able to put this aside and to move forward? President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, when he was in his campaign trail, bemoaned so many questions about the past and so few about the future. So in terms of what happened to our whole country, not just to the people of the one faith, the Christians, the Catholics, and whose churches were targeted, so on. Just not them only, but widely. This impacted the whole country. Do you feel that Sri Lanka is now ready to move forward?
Of course, it looks like the reaction of the youngsters and the people is such. But I am not an expert to analyze it politically, sir.
No.
I am a Catholic priest, so therefore...
Oh, no, I'm not, it's not a political question.
Yeah, I know the situation as such. For me, what is important is my faith and my country, true. But
on the ground, that's what I'm asking. On the ground.
What as Catholics we feel is we are very, we are not, Catholics have never been extremists, They are not religious fanatics too. They're very free people, very, very, that's why if you go to Catholic Church, you will find all sorts of people, rich and the poor. The races are not, restricted.
But that's true of all religions. There is no particular
not
one.
Not always. But if you take, like sometimes Hindus, they are restricted to, identified with their race.
Yeah.
There are so Jainism identified with their race.
Yeah.
Shintoism identified with their
Yes,
race.
no.
Buddhism also to a certain extent.
But what I'm saying is that extremism is not the sole purview.
No, there is two different distinction. Very, very clear distinction is Catholic Church is is multi-racial and more than the others. They don't identify themselves with race, with nationality.
Mm-hmm. We've got. Whilst talking about all these very important events and the future for Sri Lanka and the need to be united, because there is that saying, isn't it? United we stand and divided we fall. And so I think we need to take that on a wider context. Do you think?
Of course, I feel that I don't say good thing. One thing that happened was that people could understand to a certain extent who we are. I really have studied and got qualified. I was abroad. When I came back, I have a different attitude towards my country. Sometimes talking of Catholics, they think they are different. They thought, there was a time they thought that they are not like Sinhalese. Actually, Catholics does not mean that they are not Sinhalese. That, for example, we all are Sinhalese, the majority of the Catholics in Sri Lanka. But talking the Buddhism, Catholicism, Hinduism, with this religion, they also identify themselves as a race. That is the point we must change mainly. We must not think that the Sinhalese are Buddhists or Tamils are Hindus or Catholics are some other Europeans. Or no, my father had been a Buddhist. We are all Sinhalese. So that is attitude. If not right now, it was in the past. The attitude was that they think Catholics means or Christian means another race. It is not true.
Well, Father Kennedy Pereira, thank you very much for having been here. And what is your message? What is your Christmas message this Christmas?
For Christmas, of course, we must think that always the core of the message had been the same, in spite of, irrespective of these bad experience for the Catholics with the East attack. In the history, it had been the same, that during the time of Jesus, people and the kings looked for Jesus to destroy him and kill him. But the hope for the humanity never ceased there, never stopped there. So I appeal the Catholic community not to be very much pessimistic or negative with regard to these incidents. That's part and parcel of our Christian faith. Jesus says, take up your cross and follow me. It is important for us not the human death and the persecution, but our hope for the salvation of eternity, an eternal joyful life of happiness of coming from God Himself. Therefore, let us be positive, let us continue our journey. These things will never end in it never ended in the history. It will be there in future too. Therefore, have the best of your hope for Jesus. During the Christmas, He will be born again, and He will also bless you with the new hope. Maranatha.
Thank you, Reverend Father Kennedy Pereira. As much as we try to celebrate the joys of Christmas and so on, unfortunately we have some sad news this morning, and that is that a senior member of our legal community, Supreme Court Justice Prasanna has passed away. On behalf of the Capital Maharaja Group, on behalf of News First, and everybody, we'd like to offer our sincere condolences to Justice Prasanna Jayawardne's family, and he will be a figure who will be sadly missed by the legal fraternity in this country, and all those who seek justice too. Once again, the sad and untimely demise of Justice Prasanna Jayawardne. And on that note, that's the way it was on NEWSLINE Live. Take care, have a wonderful Christmas and a splendid holiday season. Keep the faith. It's not all doom and gloom there. There is life at the end of the big tunnel. Take care. God bless.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.